Bob Arum has dismissed the idea that Deontay Wilder could be paid step-aside money to allow the Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua undisputed fight to happen. So I'm not going to quote everything he said in this particular article, but essentially he's saying that who's going to pay Deontay Wilder's step-aside money? Because it's likely to be substantial. And that is a good point, to be fair, because under the current situation in the world right now, you have to imagine that boxing, including a big fight like AJ versus Fury, is under threat in terms of the amount of money it could make by way of pay-per-view, by way of ticket sales, people attending the event. And the fighters themselves, the likes of AJ, Fury, Wilder, are probably not going to want to take a pay cut because they're used to a certain amount of money. And, going in there in some of the riskiest fights of their career, they're going to want to be compensated. So for the likes of Deontay Wilder to step aside and let his two main rivals fight each other for the undisputed, Wilder would want probably crazy money. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you want him to step aside, you're going to have to pay him whatever he wants. And it won't just be Wilder who wants the crazy money, but the Al Haymans and Shelly Finkles and JDs lurking in the background who want that crazy money. So Bob Arum clearly is acting like he ain't trying to pay that money. Who's going to pay it? Eddie Hearn? If the fight happened, let's say in Saudi Arabia, maybe the Saudis front up the money to pay Deontay Wilder the step-aside fee. How much would Wilder want as a step-aside fee? Now, to be fair, there isn't that much demand for Wilder Fury 3 or Fury Wilder 3, whatever which way around you want to put it. There isn't that much demand for it. And so it could be argued that Wilder shouldn't really be getting that much for a third fight with Tyson Fury. I don't know what's in the contract. Is it 40% or something that the loser of the second fight gets for a third fight? 40%, 30%, I'm not sure. Maybe one of you guys knows. Or one of you guys know, excuse me. Whatever it is, that, if you're being reasonable, is what Deontay Wilder should be getting by way of step-aside money. The equivalent of what he would make for a Tyson Fury third fight. But then again, it's difficult to know, difficult to gauge and negotiate a situation like that because of the fact that it's pay-per-view. So you never really know how much money you're going to get until after the pay-per-view event has happened. Whereas paying step-aside money, you're just estimating what you think it's going to do by way of pay-per-view. So, yeah, that'll be a situation that'd have to be ironed out with Team Wilder. And the way Bob Arum's talking, it seems unlikely because he clearly doesn't want to be the one to pay Wilder. And even if, let's say, the Saudis or whoever came up with the money to pay Wilder as well as pay Fury and Joshua, well, Bob Arum might look and say, well, we could take that money. That money that the Saudis are giving to Wilder, well, the Saudis could be giving it to us. So let's just get these other fights out of the way, and then we can look at Fury versus AJ. But of course, then we come to the crux of the situation, which is where Bob Arum is continuously saying he's not even looking at the undisputed fight between AJ and Fury because he thinks that his man Pulev is going to beat AJ anyway. And so it's actually going to be Pulev versus Fury for the undisputed. Well, anything is possible in boxing. Kubrat Pulev is mandatory challenger, and that normally means that there's no rematch clause in the contract. Although I heard rumors, I don't know if this has been confirmed, rumors that Pulev has had to sign for a rematch clause with AJ. I mean, that's unusual. The only time I've seen that before is when Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko. Normally, mandatory challengers do not sign rematch clauses. Okay, that's in the rules of all the sanctioning bodies. So they have to deviate from the sanctioning body rules and decide, you know what, I'm going to take some extra money and agree to a rematch clause, even though I don't have to. Yeah, I hope that's not the case because I do like the the rule that where mandatory challengers, if they win the title, they can just sail off into the sunset. I've always liked that rule. That's part of the benefit of becoming a mandatory challenger. But either way, Pulev is mandatory for AJ right now. And if he wins, he wins. Good luck to him. I personally don't think he will. Obviously, Bob Arum is going to say that Pulev is going to do this, that, and the other. But as long as AJ switched on, even if he's not as confident as he used to be, I still think he's got the beating of Kubrat Pulev. I think it will be tricky. I don't think Pulev is going to be an easy fight for AJ at all. I think it's going to be a tricky fight early on. And I think he could find himself losing some rounds in there. Because Pulev's got a very good jab. He's a good long-range boxer. He's technical. I think AJ eventually will have to take it to Kubrat Pulev in order to get him out of there. And I think eventually he will. So I'm certainly not ruling out an upset whatsoever. But is there an element of wishful thinking from Bob Arum? I think there definitely is. I mean, he keeps on bagging on Andy Ruiz, acting like Ruiz is not a very good fighter because he obviously promoted Ruiz for a number of years. Keeps on talking about how Ruiz can't punch and he's not a very good fighter. I don't buy too much into that. I think that there is some bitterness from Bob Arum towards Ruiz because he hasn't been talking very kindly about him. I think Ruiz bought his way out of his contract, something like that. And I think Bob Arum isn't very happy about the fact that as soon as Ruiz was gone, all of a sudden he wins the world heavyweight title. I mean, can you imagine if Ruiz was still with Bob Arum when he beat AJ? Arum's tune would be totally different in terms of the way he's been talking about Andy Ruiz. Obviously. So he's doing his promoter thing. We know that this is what promoters tend to do, whether it's Bob Arum, whether it's Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, you name it. They all tend to change their tune when someone is signed to them versus not signed to them to one degree or another. Some of them are, do it in a more extreme fashion than other promoters do. But anyway, that's what Bob Arum is doing right now with Kubrat Pulev. But the main thing is, it looks as though this AJ Fury undisputed fight is looking unlikely, not just because of the current situation around the world, but also because Bob Arum, for one, doesn't want to pay any step-aside money. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.